All right, guys, I just want to remind you that tonight we're going to have the stream at 9:30 on Forgotten Millennials channel. I'll be also simulcasting, but I think he'll probably have a much better visual presentation. So also please like this video before we keep going. We're going to be talking a lot about some of the topics that I think are framing discussions of media and the way that facts get represented to the world by media organizations. So yesterday I was looking on Twitter, which is not my favorite venue for commentary, but you can find a lot of stuff there about the way other people think. And that's one of the only reasons that a lot of people remain on Twitter. I personally think Gab is a much better venue, and I've been using it more and more and more than Minds, more than most of the other social media platforms. I don't even use Steam that much anymore, just because it's a little difficult to have membership settings restored and things like that. So a big story that's started at the end of last week was the layoffs at Buzzfeed, the Huffington Post, I believe at a couple of other media organizations. Don't quite remember which ones. I think some of them were kind of major, though. Huffington Post eliminated their entire opinion section. And one of the people that covers this the best is Tim Pool, who used to work for Vice and Fusion. I think that personally this is an unavoidable thing. And you have some of these people who are belly aching over it. And I'll read what they say and exactly what I think about what they're saying. So Carissa, I think that's how you pronounce this, who is verified. But despite the verification, so she worked for Charlie Rose, who is a sexual predator, according to many reports. Okay, not allegedly a sexual predator. So this is Chronicle of Higher Education, which is it's not a bad publication, but she's been laid off. If this is a she, I don't even know. So she says, it sucks to hear about another big media layoff. I've been laid off twice in the last 2 years, so I have some advice for my BuzzFeed friends. Thread coming. First, take some time to be mad, bitter, and hurt. Social media has a weird positivity bias sometimes, but there's nothing wrong with feeling and expressing shock and anger. It was the job of execs to keep the business stable. They failed, and you're paying the price. Take advantage of the fact that everyone knows your story now. Losing your job can come with a lot of shame, but you don't have time for that. Lean into it. Talk to everyone. You will find yourself overwhelmed and encouraged by how many people want to help. You'll get invitations to go to a lot of coffees and informational meetings with editors and managers. Both of these will turn into nothing, but it gets you out of the house. Speaking of getting out of the house, you need to do that as much as possible. It's January, which makes it harder, but it helps so much. Spread out your errands. Go to the gym every day. Hang out in the library. Play a lot of Pokemon Go. Whatever. It's funny because let's assume that she's not being sarcastic here. This shows the mindset of the typical person who's been fired from or laid off from BuzzFeed or Huffington Post or some of these other outlets. I think I don't know if it was the Daily Beast. Let's take a look. So, by the way, that's going to come up later. So HuffPost layoffs. Gannett. So that's a major issue. Okay, Gannett, for those of you that don't know, is the parent company of USA Today. So Gannett has, it says even here, it says more than 1,000 daily and weekly newspapers across the country, and they cut 400 jobs. So that's a major issue. Huffington Post actually laid off Jason Cherkis, who I should know is nobody. He's probably the first person who deserves to be laid off. For those of you that don't know, and this is coming from someone who exposed a story that should have gotten more attention, and I'm not in the corporate media or in any sort of paid media. Jason Cherkis collaborated with Ryan Grimm on the original story that promoted the myth that Bernie Sanders' Facebook groups were hacked by Russian trolls. And I helped to expose that. It didn't really get any media coverage. It's a disgrace for the national media, that includes conservative media, that they didn't try to at least research that story. And it's not about who gets the credit. It's about the fact that there's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, or finalist, I guess, who apparently we have to feel sorry for him, even though he participated in a story that was completely fake. And that's I want you guys to share this, because I didn't even know this until I searched now. Jason Cherkis collaborated with Ryan Grimm on that story. So people are going to talk about, oh, there's going to be, we should unionize the workplace. Well, some of these people for example, in Huffington Post are organized under the Writer Guilds of America East. So they cut approximately 20 employees. So let's go back to the thread. Enjoy the fact that all these places are uncrowded while everyone else is at work. Yeah, that's not. I remember being unemployed, which I'm going to get to soon, and that didn't really raise my spirits. Except the possibility that it might take a while to find something. Our team at Charlie Rose got laid off in the winter of 2017, and it took the better part of a year for the majority to get full-time jobs again. That's the state of the industry. It's not your fault. Limit yourself to one Netflix binge session a week. Trust me on this one. I like that one. I'm not going to hate. What are the things I don't even watch Netflix anymore, to be honest with you. I sometimes wonder why I don't. And it's kind of, it's difficult. What are things you have been putting off because of work? Do them now. Take online classes, KonMari your house. I don't know what that means. Put up those shelves, sign up to volunteer, start an art project with your kid, finish your website. If you're able to travel, do it. Work sucks you into a brain space that makes you forget that the world exists outside it, and that lots of humans live perfectly fulfilling and interesting lives without ever having something we call a job. Learn to make bread or something. So this all now I understand that there's an art to Twitter threading, and I'm fine with her doing this. This type of thing could have just been put on a stupid personal blog, and I think Twitter itself is one of the reasons that people like this have no clue why they've lost their job. So she or he has 1,112 followers, and they have a blue check mark. There are people out there who, for example, Kyle Kashev, who was he was one of the Parkland students who spoke out against the main Parkland students group. It took him months to get a check mark, months, and he was at tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of followers. And that's why Twitter is basically just a dump. It allows people to get validated for essentially being associated with a publication. This person isn't even associated with a publication anymore. She or he is gone. Charlie Rose's show is gone. Why do they require the verification anymore? They obviously, to my knowledge, this person hasn't even started their own publication here. So you can see. Let's see. They're retweeting Liz Schumer, who's from the Hearst Lifestyle Group, one of the most corporate organizations you can get. Hearst Publications. I think over 100 years of mainstream media. They're before even our modern mainstream media was created. They were mainstream media. So they're saying some great advice for anyone facing layoffs. I'd like to add, not all of us get invites to meet with editors, lots of support from social networks. If you don't have those connections, don't despair. If you do, amplify those who don't. So this is ridiculous. And I think this is a woman, by the way. And she seems like, she's probably a nice person, but she doesn't know and understand really what the problem is. People are done with the clickbait bullshit media that emphasized diversity for so many years. This is one of the people who was also like pleading for sympathy here. Lydia Palgreen, who is, I believe, one of the worst journalists in the world. And I don't know if she was laid off or if she is just commenting on it, but she responded to Trump. Trump said the axe falls quickly at Buzzfeed and HuffPost. Headline New York Post. Fake news and bad journalism have caused a big downturn. Sadly, many others will follow. The people want the truth. And Paul Green says 1,000 journalists lost their job last week. Ordinary people with rent to pay, families to support, student loan bills coming due. There are workers like any other who do not deserve this cruelty. They are not workers like any other. And I'll explain why. When I go to my job, I work as a mechanical engineer. I can't just go and create things that are my own. I can in my own private time. I can't create things that are my own personal ideas and not get approval from the company. Not get basically in fact in the industry that I worked in and also in the last job that I worked in, I needed approval for a lot of things. If not approval, at least review. And with editors at these publications, some some of them do like kind of gatekeep against certain opinions that they don't want in the publication, and other ones you wonder exactly how somebody like this could get through. So Paul Green, I think she was with both the New York Times and HuffPost at the time. So she put this headline after this was after Steve Bannon got fired, and this is from the forward. So don't think that this is right wing right wing propaganda. The fact is that she rejoiced at Steve Bannon getting fired from the Trump administration. And she would probably make the point, well, why wouldn't I rejoice? He was a horrible person. She would call him a Nazi or whatever. Well, what goes around comes around, and she had zero sympathy for Bannon. And many people were basically saying, oh, this is the end of the Trump administration when Bannon got fired, just like with every other incident that happens relating to the Trump administration. They assumed that this was finally the last crack that would blow the whole dam down. And it didn't. And it's been, I believe, almost a year and a half, and there's no sign that the Trump administration is going to end anytime soon, at least not up until the next election. So Paul Green starts, she just gets slammed. Do not deserve this cruelty. Wow, how come in employee-employer relationships there's no need to have employers' consent? Here's one. The demand for the truth is going up. Maybe there will be work there. I don't know if that's a sarcastic one. This one says, they push lies, so they got what was coming. I hope this is only the beginning. Media needs to be purged of fake news, period. There's people replying back, but here's some person saying people lose jobs every day. Awful that these journalists lost their jobs, but they're not more important than anyone else. The narcissism of journals is appalling. And this person says, yeah, no kidding. I bet he didn't care when tons of industrial factory workers lost their jobs because Obama taxed the companies so hard they moved overseas, LOL. And then this person says, you are missing the point. And so most people who are like tagging onto this, they know that these journalists, they're just crying tears over their own misfortune because they know that their industry is going through a major shift, and they can't handle it. They literally can't handle it. I'll tell you what the issue is here. These people don't understand that the diversity era is over. And what do I mean by the diversity era? The era when you could make basically these clickbaity articles that only talk about, this group of people is marginalized, or this group of people. Here's a good example. I think I saw over here. Rather. Yeah, on this person's page. So she retweets this, which is from a guy from HuffPost UK, saying this is an important and really well written piece from Rachel McGrath on how the debate about Bryan Cranston playing a disabled man in The Upside feeds into a wider discussion about representation in film and TV. Now, Huffington Post can choose to run that article, but there's no guarantee people are going to give a shit. Because the fact is that most people, when they see Bryan Cranston playing a disabled person in this movie that I'm not really interested in seeing anyway, most people will either look at the synopsis, maybe look at a review, maybe not even look at a review, maybe they're just a Bryan Cranston fan. and then go to the movie and make up their own mind and ignore all of the stupid buzz around it. So basically, a lot of these journalists waste their time with these super analytical fluff pieces that have nothing to do with anything important. They're basically just cultural commentators run amok with virtually no audience that cares about it. People are not going to care about some narrow view of a small issue that is within a film that many of them are not even going to care about. So you're gradually just reducing the size of your audience because you're writing about something that really most people don't care about. One of the ways that you can this is like reverse blogging. A lot of bloggers who get big, they get big talking about topics that initially people don't necessarily care about, and then because they start building and building an audience, eventually people start to care about it, but not when you start at the top and share an article about something that is virtually irrelevant to the majority of people. Well, you're basically paying somebody to write about something that people don't care about yet, and they might never care about, because I don't think people have an appetite to critique films with Bryan Cranston in them that deal with disabled people. I remember when I was a kid, Rain Man was an amazing movie that it came out before, years before I watched it, but it's still to this day considered one of the best films concerning autism. So, I think that's really what's happening. It's not necessarily having to do with the politics, but some of the stuff you can't deny it. So another issue that I'm gonna cover real briefly is that Slate is trying to claim that people should unionize their workplace. Okay, basically, this person says, if any BuzzFeed employees would like to chat about organizing their workplace, my DMs are open. Layoffs suck and you deserve a union to fight for you. Here's a contract the Slate union just negotiated. So this person wants them to negotiate. And I'm going to make a prediction, and I could be wrong, but I think that eventually, so this was the strike that happened in December. Eventually, this is going to lead to a major failure at Slate, which is also not a good publication, because all of these online newspapers basically say almost the same thing about almost all the topics. Many of them know each other. Tim Pool, who I watch his channel, and he's mostly like a very center left person. He agrees that it's basically people who talk to other people who think the same way as they do. I almost make a point when I watch and consume news. I look at a lot of creators that actually think the opposite of me. I look at stuff on RT. I watched Chris Hedges' show on RT, for example. I've watched shows with, and some of it doesn't, I don't feel good after watching it, but that's kind of the way that you have to do your job in order to figure out how other people are thinking and kind of build your own viewpoint and how to counter things that you don't agree with. Okay. Not so with these writers, and these writers kind of they've created the classic echo chamber that everybody talks about. I wanted to add this before I finished with some of my other observations about the media. Look, there are many reasons I think I could have made a good person to be a reporter or a media commentator. I do like the way that I write. I think my writing is a lot better than a lot of the video content that I put out. Nevertheless, I decided to go for a career in engineering. And when I got fired from my job last year, fired/laid off, nobody wrote some sort of big op-ed claiming, suffering, rent, blah, blah, blah. I did have a mortgage to pay. I did have a lot of things to, things that were on my mind. I was actually running very low on funds by the time I got my new job, but I didn't make it such a huge issue. And in fact, I only mentioned that I'd been let go about a month after I got my new job. So, and I made a video that was honestly talking about the issues and what's going on with it wasn't even nothing to do with the political situation. So I find it very trite and very self-centered when these people automatically vent when they're let go from a job in an industry that is going through a major convulsion, and it's not about them. they can think that they're doing some sort of noble profession, reporting on the news and whatever. But I think if you look at the vast majority of the public, the people that are supposedly consuming whatever product or service that they're putting out, they don't agree. A lot of the people in the country don't want to even watch the news. I was talking to a friend yesterday. He was at the synagogue, actually, and he was there with his kids. And I mentioned that I do some writing and whatever, and he actually said he's made a point not to look at the news or anything for the past couple years. And he wasn't the only person who said that to me. There's a lot of people who are just tired of it. They don't care, and they're done, and they don't want to even have to bother with it. They just want to, especially people who have families and things to look after. The news has basically alienated them. So you can't tell people who you've alienated that you have things to take care of and you have your family to worry about, when in many cases you've basically driven them away from even following the news at all. Never mind people that disagree with you. They don't even want to watch the news at all because of the type of atmosphere that you're creating and the fact that you're promoting hysteria, when in many cases people know that the issues that you're talking about don't necessarily have to do with them. Even though in some cases you can find some tie, you can't force people to care. People are going to make that choice, whatever position that you're going to promote. So I wanted to end this video just talking about where I think media is headed and who are the better members of the media who do a lot more full-time stuff than I do. Who are the better ones for you to follow? And I think, Tim Pool actually said earlier, I think it was yesterday, that there are already professors that are saying that he is the future of media. I don't know if he was doing it to brag. I don't think that that's kind of his style. I think he's a little more of a soft-spoken person, even though he's on YouTube literally all the time. So I would say that he's definitely one person to follow. The other people that I've interacted with are, some of the great ones are Tom Binns and Jim So Podcast, Anthony Logan. You also have, for example, Lennon McCarthy. But those are those people are obviously opinionated and very similar to the opinions that I have. If not, they directly collaborate with me. So I don't want this just to be about the people, the stuff that I believe and what I think the media should be. I think you need to find people who can provide at least some sort of balance and, gravitas when they give the news or when they discuss a story. Even if they're giving their opinion, they should be able to present it in a way that you're not basically telling half of your audience that they should choke and die. So besides Timcast, okay, you have Tim Pool, who has two channels. I'm subscribed to both of them. I actually happen to be a member of one of his main channel. Then you also have Actual Justice Warrior, and I think he is an up-and-coming guy, does a lot of amazing work talking about criminal justice issues. You also have Nuance Bro, who's from California, and he does as his name suggests, he does very, very detailed videos talking about issues and not just buying into one partisan belief system when discussing them. And then finally, you have PSA Situ. I would say he's able to give a lot of very honest stuff about some of the same topics that I do. He's not somebody who's just going to cover for people who are on his side of an issue. That's about it. So again, please join me at 9:30, whether it's on this channel or on Forgotten Millennials channel, for the Testigo Venezuela stream. We just actually set it up. I had to end the previous session of this video shoot in order to talk to him, but we're going to set it up. You're going to probably enjoy it a lot, and could be the beginning of a lot of work together. Also, please like this channel or like this video, subscribe to this channel. So, also hit the notifications. You can see my other channel, Razor Ray Special Cuts. Subscribe to that, and subscribe to me on BitChute and CocoScope, as well as all of the social media behind me. And have a great day. See you at 9:30. Again, see you at 9:30. I'll put the link in the description.